Across China's vast mountains and hidden valleys live peoples whose stories predate dynasties, whose traditions flow deeper than the Yellow River itself. From matriarchal kingdoms by mirror lakes to eagle hunters in snow peaks, from rice terrace masters to wooden tower builders, these are the guardians of China's most profound secrets. While Han civilization painted itself across history, these communities preserved older truths, ways of living that honor Earth's rhythms and build homes that breathe with the landscape. These are the tribes of the Middle Kingdom, proof that diversity flourishes even in the shadow of the world's most ancient civilization. Mosuo. On the shores of Lugu Lake, where Yunnan meets Sichuan in a realm of crystalline water and cloud-touched peaks, the Mosuo people have built the world's last surviving matriarchy. Here, in villages that float like dreams between mountain and reflection, women hold the lineage, the property, and the power, while men tend gardens, raise children, and follow the gentle guidance of mothers, sisters, and daughters. The lake mirrors their society, serene on the surface, but deep with currents that outsiders rarely understand. Mosuo children grow up knowing their mother's name carries them through life, while fathers remain loving visitors in a world where romantic love flows like water, unbound by the rigid containers of marriage that define other cultures. Their walking marriages, terraces, allow hearts to choose and change without ceremony or contract. Love affairs conducted under starlight with no shame, no ownership, only the natural ebb and flow of human affection. Their wooden houses rise on stilts above courtyards where grandmother's word is law, and daughters inherit not just wealth but the sacred responsibility of family continuance. The fire pit at each home's center burns continuously, tended by generations of women whose hands have fed the same flames for centuries. Around these fires, children learn songs in a language that exists nowhere else, stories of lake spirits and mountain gods who chose women to speak for them on earth. The Mosuo wake to mornings where the lake lies still as polished jade, their dugout canoes cutting through water so clear it seems like traveling through liquid sky. Women pole these boats with the confidence of people who own the water itself, their colorful clothes reflected in depths that hold the memory of thousands of such mornings, thousands of such women moving across the surface of their ancient world. Their goddess worship centers on the peak of Lion Mountain, where Gemu, the goddess of love and fertility, watches over a society that never forgot the power of the feminine divine. Pilgrimages up this sacred mountain follow paths worn smooth by countless feet, most of them belonging to women who climb to pray, to seek guidance, or simply to stand where earth meets heaven, and remember that power flows through bloodlines as naturally as streams flow toward the lake. But modernity arrives on tour buses filled with Han Chinese seeking glimpses of this kingdom of women, hotels rising along shorelines once known only to fishermen, and young Mosuo leaving for cities where matriarchy exists only in museums. Some fear their society will become a tourist curiosity, their profound social innovations reduced to postcards and selfie opportunities. Yet in the quiet hours before dawn, when mist rises from Lugu Lake like the breath of sleeping dragons, the Mosuo remain what they have always been, proof that power can be gentle, that societies can honor the feminine without diminishing the masculine, that love can flourish without cages. They are the daughters of the lake, the keepers of humanity's deepest wisdom about how families can form and thrive in the space between freedom and belonging. Miao. Scattered across China's most remote mountains like seeds scattered by gods, the Miao people bloom in impossible places, cliff villages that cling to vertical stone, valley settlements hidden in forests so dense that sunlight reaches the ground only in scattered coins of gold, highland communities where clouds drift between houses like visiting spirits. They are the people of 100 names, called Hmong in the West, scattered across borders by centuries of migration, yet united by silver jewelry that catches light like captured starfire and embroidery so intricate it seems woven from dreams themselves. In Guizhou's limestone karst, where peaks rise like ancient needles stitching earth to sky, Miao villages perch on ledges barely wide enough for houses. Their wooden homes seem to grow from stone itself, connected by paths so narrow that walking becomes meditation, every step a conversation with gravity and grace. Children grow up with balance bred into their bones, learning to dance on terraces carved from cliffsides, their bare feet knowing precisely where stone ends and empty air begins. The Miao women are living galleries of their people's artistic soul, their festival costumes layering silver upon silver until they seem armored in moonlight itself. Necklaces cascade like waterfalls of beaten metal, headdresses rise like architectural marvels, and their pleated skirts swirl with embroidered flowers that tell stories older than written history. Each piece of jewelry carries meaning: protection against evil spirits, prayers for fertility, connections to ancestors who worked the same silver into the same protective patterns. Their New Year celebrations transform remote villages into theaters of impossible beauty, as if the mountains themselves decided to dress up in their finest clothes. Reed pipe music echoes through valleys like the breath of sleeping dragons, while dancers move in formations that mirror the flight patterns of birds, the flow of rivers, the turning of seasons. Young men and women meet in courtships conducted entirely through song, voices weaving together in harmonies that carry across ridgelines like promises written in sound. Dong. In the river valleys of Guangxi, Yunnan, and Guizhou, where waterways carve deep channels through limestone peaks and mist, rises each morning like the earth's own prayers. The Dong people have built a civilization of wood that defies both gravity and time. Their villages emerge from morning fog, like architectural dreams made manifest, dominated by drum towers that rise toward heaven, like prayers carved from timber, and connected by covered bridges that span rivers with the grace of rainbows, frozen in wood and stone. The Dong are the master carpenters of China, builders who learned their craft not from blueprints, but from the trees themselves. Their drum towers, the famous gulu, rise in the center of each village like wooden cathedrals, built entirely without nails, each beam and post fitted with the precision of living puzzles. These towers serve as clock and calendar, meeting hall and spiritual center, their wooden bells marking time not in minutes but in seasons, festivals, and the natural rhythms of community life. Their covered bridges are engineering poetry, structures that serve as roads, meeting places, and temples all at once. The bridges span rivers with multiple arches, their covered galleries providing shelter from rain and sun, while creating spaces for courtship, commerce, and the endless conversations that weave communities together. Built to last centuries, maintained by collective labor, these bridges connect not just riverbanks but generations, carrying the footsteps of grandchildren over paths their ancestors designed. The Dong women are keepers of songs that exist nowhere else on earth. Their grand choirs, the famous Great Song of the Dong, creating harmonies so complex they seem to come from the mountains themselves. Without instruments, without conductors, without written music, they weave voices together in patterns that mirror the complexity of their river valleys, songs that tell stories of creation, love, loss, and the eternal conversation between human hearts and the natural world that surrounds them. Their villages breathe with the rhythm of rice agriculture, but rice grown in ways that turn farming into art. Their terraced fields follow river valleys in curves so graceful they seem painted by celestial brushes, while their water buffalo move through these landscapes like living sculptures, their bells creating music that blends with flowing water and birdsong into symphonies that play from dawn to dusk. Tujia. High in the Wuling Mountains, where Yunnan meets Hubei in a realm of vertical stone and cascading water, the Tujia people cling to cliffsides like human barnacles, their stilt houses rising from impossible angles as if defying the very concept of level ground. They are the vertical people, the cliff dwellers who looked at precipices and saw home sites. Their Diaojiaolu, hanging foot buildings, perch on mountainsides so steep that front doors open onto empty air while back doors lead into solid stone. These wooden structures cantilever over valleys with confidence that speaks to centuries of engineering innovation. Walking through a Tujia village requires the balance of a mountain goat and faith of a tightrope walker. The Tujia wake to mornings where their windows frame valleys so deep that clouds drift below their floorboards, where sunrise hits opposite cliff faces first and slowly works its way down into depths where rivers run like silver threads through green darkness. Their children learn to walk on slanted floors, to sleep in beds that angle toward distant valleys. Miao. In the rice terraces of Longsheng, where mountains have been carved into staircases fit for giants and water mirrors sky in 1,000 reflecting pools, the red Yao women move like living artwork through landscapes painted by gods with geometric perfection. Their hair, grown throughout their lives into lengths that pool around them like dark water, carries their people's story in every strand. The red Yao wake to dawns where terraced fields stretch up mountainsides like green mirrors reflecting sky they can barely see from valley floors. Each terrace holds water that carries clouds, creates reflections that double the height of already impossible landscapes, and supports rice growing despite the seemingly impossible steepness. Their hair tells time differently than clocks. Red Yao women cut their hair only once, usually around age 16, then let it grow until it becomes their most precious possession. During elaborate hair-washing ceremonies, performed only a few times each year, their hair flows down mountainsides like dark waterfalls, creating scenes so beautiful that tourists travel thousands of miles just to witness them. Their songs echo across terraced valleys with harmonies that blend human voices with the sound of water trickling from terrace to terrace, creating music that incorporates the landscape itself as both instrument and concert hall. Work songs coordinate entire villages' labor, turning agricultural necessity into musical performance. Their festivals transform terraced mountainsides into theaters where traditional dances mirror the flowing patterns of water moving down slopes, where singers perform from different elevations to create natural amphitheater effects, where the landscape itself becomes part of the performance. Zhuang. Across the karst, landscapes of Guangxi, where limestone peaks rise like stone flowers from emerald valleys and underground rivers carve caverns echoing with geological time. The Zhuang people have built the largest minority civilization in China. They are the valley masters, the singers of stone mountains, the people who learned to read underground water's moods and plant their lives in soil enriched by limestone, dissolved into fertility over millions of years. In valleys so beautiful, they seem borrowed from scroll paintings. Zhuang villages cluster around springs that emerge from mountainsides with water so clear it seems like liquid crystal. Their houses reflect in pools that mirror limestone peaks, creating landscapes where reality and reflection blend into impossible perfection. The Zhuang are China's master hydraulic engineers, builders of irrigation systems that turn their valleys into gardens where rice grows in fields painted with brushes dipped in green light. Their water management transforms seasonal floods into controlled abundance, directing mountain springs through channels feeding rice paddies, fish ponds, and vegetable gardens. Their festivals celebrate water in all forms. The Liu Sanjie Folk Song Festival transforms rivers into floating stages where singers compete from decorated boats, their voices carrying across water that amplifies every note and creates natural acoustics, turning valleys into concert halls designed by geological forces. Yi. High in the mountains of Sichuan and Yunnan, where peaks pierce clouds and valleys drop into depths measured in miles, the Yi people light torches that have burned continuously for over 1,000 years. They are the fire keepers, the cliff village builders, the people who chose to live so high that their daily lives require eagle's lungs and mountain goat's balance. Their villages perch on mountainsides so steep that streets become staircases, and every journey requires mountain climbing expedition planning. Yi houses cling to slopes where landslides are annual events, and morning fog rises from valleys so deep that noon arrives hours after sunrise. The Yi calendar revolves around fire. Their torch festival transforms mountain villages into beacons visible from hundreds of miles away. Torches carried in processions that wind up mountainsides like rivers of flame flowing towards sky. On these nights, their mountains become earthbound constellations, lights that communicate with stars. Their women wear traditional dress mirroring their mountain landscape's colors. Deep blacks echoing shadow in deep valleys, bright yellows and reds capturing sunset intensity on peaks that catch last light long after valleys fall into darkness. Their silver jewelry catches firelight during torch festivals, creating illumination, seeming to come from within the metal itself. Tibetan nomads. On the Changtang Plateau, where Tibet spreads across the world's roof in vastness that reduces human presence to specks moving across landscapes measured in geological rather than human time, Tibetan nomads follow herds of yak across grasslands where the horizon curves with the planet's curvature and sky presses down with space's weight. They are the people of endless sky, the herders of the world's ceiling, moving across plateaus so high that sunrise comes with revelation's intensity and sunset paints mountains in colors borrowed from other planets. Their black yak hair tents dot landscapes where distances are measured not in miles but in days of travel. The nomads wake to mornings where frost covers grass even in summer, where air is so thin every breath must be intentional, where winds carry sounds across distances, making conversation between distant camps possible. They're yaks, creatures built for altitudes where most animals cannot survive, provide everything needed for life at space's edge. Their lifestyle requires reading weather patterns written across skies so vast they seem like climate, written in script only nomads can decipher. They predict storms by distant mountain colors, time movements by wild animal behavior, navigate by stars so bright they seem touchable. Their migrations follow routes established over centuries, paths across grasslands that look empty to outsiders but carry countless passages memory, landmarks invisible to non-nomadic eyes, but clear as highway signs to people who learn to read landscapes where wrong turns could mean death by exposure. Yet on the Qiang Plateau, where morning frost still glazes grass, feeding yak herds and evening stars still shine with intensity from air too thin to dim their light, Tibetan nomads endure. The people of infinite sky, the herders of the world's edge, proof that communities can thrive where earth ends and space begins. Kazakh of Xinjiang. In the Altai Mountains of Xinjiang, where China meets Kazakhstan, in landscapes so vast they dwarf human ambition, and so wild they humble technology, the Kazakh people hunt with golden eagles trained to kill wolves and foxes in terrain where survival requires partnership between human intelligence and predator instinct. They are the eagle masters, the horsemen of impossible mountains. Their winter hunting grounds lie in valleys where temperatures drop so low that exposed skin freezes within minutes, and breathing creates ice clouds that fall like snow. The Kazakhs wrap themselves in fur coats that make them look like bears with human faces, their horses shod with special ice-gripping shoes, their golden eagles riding on gloved arms with predators' patience. The eagles themselves are living weapons, birds with 7-foot wingspans and talons that can crush wolf skulls, trained from chicks to respond to whistle calls that carry across valleys, with clarity from air so cold it cannot absorb sound. These hunting partnerships last decades, human and eagle learning each other until they become single predatory units. Uyghurs. Along the ancient Silk Road, where desert sands meet snow-capped peaks and oasis cities emerge from barren vastness like mirages made permanent, the Uyghur people have built a civilization of traders, craftsmen, and desert farmers whose culture bridges east and west like human bridges spanning impossible distances. In cities like Kashgar and Turpan, where bazaars echo with dozens of languages and merchants sell goods from continents away, Uyghur traders continue traditions older than Marco Polo. Their covered markets creating cool shadows where travelers rest between desert crossings and caravans form for journeys measured in months rather than days. The Uyghurs plant grapes in desert valleys where underground channels, the ancient carres system, brings snowmelt from distant mountains through tunnels dug by hand, creating oases where vineyards flourish in landscapes that receive almost no rainfall. Their engineering turns barren valleys into gardens, their patience measured in generations needed to complete single irrigation projects. Hani. On the mountainsides of Yunnan, where monsoon clouds crash against ancient peaks and water becomes the sculptor of impossible landscapes, the Hani people have carved rice terraces that climb toward heaven like staircases built for giants. They are the terrace masters, the water engineers, the people who turned vertical mountainsides into horizontal abundance. Their rice terraces stretch up mountainsides in curves so graceful they seem painted by celestial brushes, each level perfectly engineered to catch water from the level above, hold it long enough for rice to grow, then release it to feed the terrace below. Water flows from mountaintop to valley bottom through thousands of terraces without wasting a single drop. The Hani wake to dawns, where their terraced fields create mirrors that double mountain height, water reflecting sky in geometric patterns that make their landscape seem like nature-wearing jewelry designed by mathematicians with perfect aesthetic sense. During planting season, these terraces become vast mirrors reflecting clouds, mountains, and sky in repetitive patterns that extend beyond any single viewpoint. Their villages perch on mountainsides between terrace levels, houses positioned to oversee farming operations that require constant water management and seasonal coordination. From their doorsteps, Hani families can see agricultural artwork that stretches to horizons, rice growing in patterns so regular they create visual rhythms like music made visible. Their irrigation knowledge passes through generations of families who understand that terrace farming requires not just individual skill, but community cooperation. Water rights, maintenance responsibilities, and planting schedules that must coordinate across entire watersheds. Their agriculture operates like orchestras, where every farmer must play their part precisely or the entire system fails. Their festivals celebrate the relationship between human communities and water cycles, ceremonies timed to monsoon rhythms and rice-growing seasons. During these celebrations, terraced mountainsides become amphitheaters where traditional songs echo between stone retaining walls and dancers move in formations that mirror the geometric precision of their agricultural landscapes. Yet in the mountainsides, where morning mist still rises from water-filled terraces like incense offered to mountain spirits, and evening light still turns carved slopes into golden staircases that seem to lead directly to heaven. The Hani endure, the terrace masters, the water sculptors, proof that human agriculture can create landscapes so beautiful they redefine the relationship between survival and art. Qiang. In the earthquake-prone valleys of Sichuan, where tectonic plates grind against each other with geological violence and mountains rise through constant upheaval, the Qiang people build stone towers that have withstood centuries of Earth's fury. They are the tower builders, the earthquake survivors, the people who learned to construct homes that flex with seismic waves rather than break against them. Their stone towers rise from valley floors like ancient lighthouses, built without mortar, using techniques that create structures more earthquake-resistant than modern engineering. These towers served as fortresses during wars, granaries during famines, and symbols of community strength during the countless natural disasters that reshaped their landscape with terrifying regularity. Qiang villages cluster around these towers like human settlements gathering around lighthouses. Their stone houses built with the same seismic wisdom, walls that can move without collapsing, roofs that can shift without falling, foundations that bend with Earth's movement rather than resist it. Their architecture embodies lessons learned through centuries of surviving in landscapes where stability is temporary and adaptation is survival. Their traditional religion honors mountain gods who control earthquakes, their ceremonies conducted on peaks that rise through active fault zones where morning prayers might be interrupted by afternoon tremors. They understand their landscape as alive, breathing, dangerous, and sacred. Terrain that demands respect, offers beauty, and reminds humans daily of their fragility. If this journey through China's hidden peoples stirred your spirit, let these ancient voices carry your support. Leave a like, share it with fellow explorers, and subscribe so you never miss the next expedition into the world's most remarkable communities. Thank you for watching. And may the wisdom of these mountain peoples and desert wanderers stay with you until we journey again into the places where tradition meets the eternal challenge of being beautifully, defiantly human.